I've got a web channel looking for the wisdom of Jesus and the gospel and the parable. One place Jesus is talking to, thanking God. He says, I thank thee, Father, that thou hast hid these things from the wise and the prudent and deliver them to unto babes. But we read the Gospels, and we don't understand what he's hidden. It seems like everybody's got everything all sorted out, and I can tell you for certain that not all the parables are understood as originally intended. They have, in fact, many of them have, in fact, hidden messages, that things that are hidden from the wise and the prudent, and when he delivers things unto the babes, those things in the Sermon on the Mount and on the messages to the multitude. Those things are plain and simple things about having compassion for one another and caring for one another. It's really about um, whether or not you can identify with someone else in need, and whether you are inclined to help them where you can, and of course, not doing evil to anyone at any time. That, of course, goes without saying. But um, the wise and the prudent, he says this almost sarcastically, if you think about it, because he says, the wise and the prudent, these would in his day be perhaps the scribes and the Pharisees. They were wise and they were prudent in their understanding of things, but he says they lacked substance of really caring for one another. They were taking advantage of widows and looking for uh, help with the temple taxes and the temple treasury by widows, and the Gospels, the teachings say that true religion is to look after the widows and the fatherless. So they were lacking this compassion, and they thought that there was wisdom in this. They were giving lip service to God, and not having the hearts turned to His children, and that was where they were letting God down. Uh, at any rate, uh, several of the parables can be misunderstood if they taken out of the context of what Jesus was trying to get us to do for each other, and that was to care for each other. If a person's out on a lake and their boat is stranded, it's common courtesy for anybody who's going by to realize that could be them and their boat's stranded. And what usually happens is that the people that recognize you're being stranded come and see what they you can do, what they can do to help you. And oftentimes they might have to tow you all the way back into the docks. But it's understood that that could be them someday, and so they extend that kindness. But we walk by so many people in need around us, and not uh, often enough do we stop and see what it is that we can do to help them. And there's a lot of kind people in the world. They do a lot of good for people, and nobody wants to contribute to somebody else's problems and addictions. But by the same token, we're called to have a heart of compassion and understanding. Um, when Jesus talks about um, when Jesus talks about forgiveness and kindness extended to other people, he makes this priority. The priority is to love God and love your neighbor or as yourself. Those two things are the priority of the whole gospel and all of his teachings. So uh, it's not surprising then when he's talking to Peter about which one would love the most, the one that was forgiving a small amount, or among the one that was forgiven a large amount, and by the creditor. And Peter answered, "Well, I suppose it would be the one that was forgiven more." And Jesus says, "Likewise, this woman whose sins were forgiven, who had many sins, um, she then loves more." And I think that's a profound observation, because what Jesus is doing is looking past her sin to the love that she extends back after having been forgiven. And he says, wherever the gospel is preached, it will be said of this woman as a testimony, or as a regards to her, memorial to her. But it isn't about raising her up. It's about the lesson behind it, is that the one who is forgiven more loves more. And this means that our forgiveness, when it's accepted by those, when it's asked for, when it's desired by those, when it saves that person's life to receive your forgiveness, that you extend it. Now, a lot of people think that only God can forgive, but Jesus said he taught forgiveness, that the Son of Man might know that he can forgive sins. And the Son of Man, when he talks about the Son of Man, he's talking about himself, but he's also talking about us. He said, he says, what is easier to say, thy sins are forgiven thee, or rise and walk? So when he's talking about this sins being forgiven, the scribes and the Pharisees thought, they said, well, only God can forgive sins. Well, God's really requiring us to also forgive sins, those people who sin against us. And if we forgive, then God is good and just to forgive us of our sins. That's kind of how this forgiveness of sins works. Now, we're told not to judge, but we're creatures of judgment. We judge everything all the time. We can't help it. God knows this. It's really part of what makes our own conscience. Our conscience is what judges us, usually, and almost always, and will judge us in the end. For as we judge others, we're going to be judged. And so you can't treat people bad and then expect that you're going to be forgiven if you, in turn, cannot forgive others who also treat people bad. See, it's tit it's tit for tat. They say it's exactly one thing for the other, in equal measurement, and so we're kind of stuck. We're stuck between our conscience telling us what to do right, and our wisdom and our brain and our prudentness, telling us, gee, I don't know, it's too big of a task. It's too much. I don't know what I'm getting in for. Yes. So, anyways, uh, that's the wisdom of Jesus. That his parables, they speak as though there's a way out of not being compassionate. For instance, the wise virgins who bought extra oil, they had the idea that, hey, uh, you go into town and buy it for yourself, because there may not be enough for us and you also. That's a wise and prudent um, action, because they're concerned that there may not be enough for them. However, this is a wedding feast. This is two families coming together, and probably five wise were from one part of the family and five foolish were from the other part of the family. Wouldn't it be more yes, kind to say, let's just wait for the here for the for the prince to arrive, the groom to arrive, and we'll see what we can do. Or, well, if they shared their oil, what would happen? Would the groom come and find out that all of them had run out of, because the five who had extra actually shared? Uh, that's a good question, because the parable leads us along this wise and prudent inclination that it was a smart thing for them not to share the oil. And in this parable of the 10 virgins waiting for the bridegroom, these are young girls. And it sounds as though God is the one in the wedding feast who the others came later, it said. And they knocked on the door and said, "Let us in." And it sounds as though God's judgment is harsh. He says, "I know you not." It doesn't make any sense because it's inconsistent with with the mercy and kindness of the Father. The only time that He judges us is He uses our own judgment against us. And that's as we judge others, we will be judged. It says that the Father gave all judgment unto the Son, and Jesus says, "I judge no man, but if I judge, my judgment is just." This is a riddle, and this is a thing that's hidden that I'm explaining about. This, these things hidden from the wise and prudent is that Jesus is saying, "I judge no man, but if I judge, my judgment is just." Then he also says that man will be judged out of the books of the New Testament. He's going to be judged out of the teachings of Jesus, and those teachings state specifically that you will be judged as you judge others. So our own conscience is up judging us in that way. So that's the reason why these things are hidden, is because God has pretty much said, well, okay, if you reject this compassion that you're supposed to have for people, then I'm going to leave you a parable that with an open-ended result. And the open-ended result was he did not say that that the prince came and took the wise. Said he came and he took those who were ready into the feast. And it's assumed that those who were ready are the ones who had the extra oil in their lamps. But keep in mind, they did not share that oil. And sharing was a key part of Christ's teaching about judgment. I was hungry and you gave me no meat, thirsty, you gave me no drink, naked and you clothed me not. And they said, "When, Lord, when did we see you this way?" And he says, "When you did it to the least of these, you did it not to me." Now then, if they did not share to the least of these, which would have been those 5 virgins who were, quote, foolish, they were foolish by man's standards. If they did not share to them, then neither does then they have virtually done it to the least of these, which is what Jesus is talking about. These were family members, and can you imagine starting a wedding feast off where 5 of the wise, prudent um, people in the wedding party had sent the another 5 persons who lacked something that they had out into the darkness to buy for themselves. No, they should, if they were wise, they should know full well that they would have missed opportunity to meet with the groom. Now then, as the groom is coming, he comes across those who were on their way to buy for themselves, and he meets them first. And that's the mystery behind the solving of the parable of the 10 virgins, is that as they were going to buy oil for themselves, the prince came, and he what? He took those who were ready into the feast. And of those who were ready were the ones who were on their way to buy oil for themselves, not the ones who had their lamps burning but rejected and neglected to share their oil with those other 5. And there's all kinds of theologians who try to justify this parable, and try to work it out to where that because Jesus called them wise, that they must be wise spiritually, but they were clearly not wise spiritually. Only in a worldly way were they wise, and that's part of a parable that explains this hidden message from the wise and prudent that's delivered unto babes. And there's many other parables like this one that don't have the um, sophisticated wisdom of Jesus and God immediately present in them. You have to look for it, you have to find it. But when you find it, then it's quite rewarding. It's humorous, it's entertaining, it's sophisticated. And that's what Jesus' teachings are about. That's what they are. And when you understand them, you have a deeper appreciation that Jesus truly is the Son of God and part of the Trinity of God. He is God in the flesh, the Word in the flesh. And so there you have it. I've gone live. I've been quiet for a long time, and I wanted to introduce my web channel with where I have several of the different parables mentioned, and a new take on those parables, a new way to see those. And so I wanted to bring those to light, and I hope that people who have tuned in appreciate that, and look forward to your input, your comments. Please feel free to do so. Like, subscribe to my channel, and explore the various parables that I've touched on there. I'd appreciate it. Thank you very much. I think that's about it for today. Going live, and I'm going to call it. And hopefully, we'll try to do this more often. Thank you very much. Have a great day. Here we go. Okay. Facebook newsfeed, Bluetooth. Message, newsfeed, copy link. Oh, I'm not ready to go live in. I'm all done for now. Let's see. Oh, hi there, Helen. Message.